Thank you, Yashoda Mataji. Very nice of you. Get us into mood. And it's my pleasure to welcome today amongst us His Grace Devamadhava Prabhu. So some of you may know him, or many of you may know him, but still it's my privilege and honor to introduce Prabhu. I think were you there for Lokabandhu's marriage?
I was.
Okay, so
Yes.
so we maybe we were very close by, but we exchanged pleasantries, but we never had a chance to talk to each other. I think you were playing kirtan, and I saw you there. Thank you. And so just to let you all know, Prabhu has been serving in Iskcon more than a decade, if I can call it. Yeah. And,
Yes.
yes.
Trying to serve.
So Prabhu has his own has a nice preaching center developed around a farm, a restaurant, and one of the fastest growing sanghas in North America. That's in East Michigan, in Ipsy, if I say it right. Ipsy.
That's very good. You sound like a local.
Okay, thank you. So a very nice pioneer in putting across our Gaudiya philosophy in modern retrospection. That's how I really I'm really inspired by you, Prabhu, and thank you. So he's also on the GBC strategic planning team, and very happy that he's here. When I asked Prabhu for his time, he was like, okay, yes. And he gave me a very nice topic for today's discussion. but I just thought that maybe the crowd may or may not be able to initially get that. So
We'll save that for the end. That's the big finale.
Yes, so I'll save the heading for the end when Devamadhava Prabhu will tell it. But once again, a warm welcome to you. So you may take it as you like. It would be nice if we can keep a few minutes for reflections or some questions from the devotees. So once again, on behalf of Jayapataka Swami Sisya Samu, we welcome you for this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. I don't, as you just pointed out, Anadi Jagannath Prabhu, I don't know you personally, except now through Zoom, and maybe we exchanged some pleasantry. Already, though, as most devotees are able to do, you have me deeply indebted to you, because you're giving me an opportunity to glorify our Guru Maharaj, which unfortunately doesn't come as often as it should, in the kind of direct way that sometimes a disciple would like to speak something from their heart. It's not easy to do so in today's present devotional climate, and it's with good reason also. It's not that it's wrong, but in the large society that is our Iskcon community and the larger Gaudiya Vaishnava Sangha, then it's not always appropriate to glorify your spiritual master as much and as directly as you might like. And so I often find myself feeling a little suppressed. So Nadi Jagannath Prabhu, you're inviting me to let it out in this safe community of like-hearted souls who are all feeling, maybe there's some dikshas, shiksha supporters, anyone here I'm trusting has that affection, something in their heart for Jayapataka Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, and so I'm feeling safe to let it flow today. Forgive me, I'm not a very paka person, unfortunately. I like to speak from the heart, which is not always as it may be traditionally presented in these kinds of settings. So if I say anything that is off color or off-putting, please forgive me. Don't take it as a reflection on Guru Maharaj. He's still working on me, so I still have some purification to go through, and he'll address that. But if I say anything off, please do forgive me. And if you'll allow me, I'll frame how I would like to lay out the discussion today. My sharing will mostly be my own experience, which is in some way centered around me, that I've had this experience with Guru Maharaj, and he's my spiritual master, and he's given me so much. And so if I sound like I'm talking about myself also, it's just in an attempt to say and share and show what he's done for me. Without him, truly, and that's my hope to demonstrate this, that without him, whatever I've done in Krishna consciousness would be impossible and unimaginable. And so I'm again deeply grateful to Anadi Jagannath Prabhu for this chance to say something and share something about my own reflection on the mercy and the truly beyond causeless, it's senseless. Senseless mercy means that there's many good reasons not to give what Guru Maharaj has given to me, but still he has. So I appreciate this chance to glorify him. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Jayapataka Swami Namine Namachari Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayane Gorakata Damadaya Naga Gramatarine Namom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. The first time I heard about Guru Maharaj, I was at the temple for the second time. I had met the devotees in Detroit, Michigan. And I didn't grow up in Michigan. I kind of ran away from home, and I was a classic, like my case is out of the 1970s. You know, I was homeless and a hippie more or less, and then I met the devotees and I joined. So I was at the temple for the second time, coming to my second Sunday feast, and some devotees were standing around glorifying Guru Maharaj. And I was hearing about this person, and I had this feeling in my heart right away that this is your spiritual master. This is the person that you're meant to take shelter of. And at that time, I didn't have any conception yet of what a spiritual master was, what it really meant to have a guru. There's just this funny feeling in my heart that this person was that, whatever that was, I wasn't even sure. At the same time, when the devotees were speaking, they were speaking about Guru Maharaj's physical incapacity, which had occurred in 2008, the stroke. And so they were speaking about him almost as though he had departed already, that he had passed away. And I got the sense that he was kind of out of commission. I could understand he was still alive, but maybe he wasn't active, so to speak, anymore. And I was just brand new, so I didn't know what to ask or how to say. So I just kind of kept this experience in my heart. And then some time later, after I moved into the ashram, one of our godbrothers, Advaita Prabhu, who some of you may know, he is a disciple of Guru Maharaj, and he began to just share some things, and I saw a picture, and he began to discuss with me about Guru Maharaj, and I understood, oh, this person's still initiating. This is good news. It was exciting for me to hear. And Advaita Prabhu invited me to Atlanta, which is known as New Panihati Dham, and many of you are there in India, and so maybe you haven't had the opportunity, but surely you've heard some of the pastimes of Guru Maharaj going to this temple in Atlanta. A very special temple for any Jayapataka Maharaj disciple, but also any follower of Srila Prabhupada, because he was there and famously went into ecstasy while chanting Jai Radha Madhava. There's also a fun anecdote. Prabhupada is in Atlanta, and all the book distributors have come. Whenever Prabhupada goes somewhere, then it's a pilgrimage place, and so devotees come from as far away as they possibly can to hear from him and see him, just be in his presence. And one devotee, the temple room is packed, and maybe at least 90% of it is book distributors and Sankirtan devotees of one kind or another. The Radha Damodar party's there. And a devotee floats the question to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what pleases you most? And of course, they were hoping to hear book distribution because they were all themselves Sankirtan devotees. But Prabhupada said, if you learn to love Krishna, that will please me most. So this Atlanta temple is very special, and it's unique. Of any temple in North America, I don't know of any other place where Gaur Nitai is in the center of the altar. And it's a very appropriate place for Jayapataka Maharaj disciples to kind of gather and come together to be in Guru Maharaj's association, because of course, he's such a Gaur Bhakta and is famous for his Gaur Katha. And so in this place, Gaur Nitai is in the center, and then Radha Madam Mohan are installed there also. And Radha Madam Mohan were installed by Guru Maharaj. And that Radha Madam Mohan, they are the Ishtadev of Sambandha Gyan. They are the Ishtadev of understanding our relationship ultimately to themselves, to Krishna. But our Sambandha Gyan is established through our relationship with Guru. So it's a very appropriate place to go and meet your spiritual master at the lotus feet of Radha Madam Mohan. So this devotee, Advaita Prabhu, brought me down to the New Panihati festival a few months after I first moved into the temple. So this was 2011, winter that I moved in. And then that summer, first weekend in June, always first weekend in June, there would be Panihati Festival. And then second weekend would be New York City Rath Yatra. So Guru Maharaj would always do the tour. He would go from New Panihati on up to New York, and I'll go to New York with him in a moment. But this is where I met Guru Maharaj for the first time, and we were, well, there's an understanding that he gave to me right away in my service to him before I had even really met him. Devotees were going, and I was excited to go and greet him at the airport. I was hoping it was going to be a kind of classic Hare Krishna Iskcon greeting of the spiritual master, the pure devotee. And different things were different ways, and so somehow it came that the devotees forgot to bring a garland for Guru Maharaj, and they didn't bring any instruments, and it was kind of a less ecstatic affair than my young Bhakta mind had put in. And so I brought a mridanga along with me, but nobody wanted me playing it because I didn't know what I was doing anyway. And they also didn't have a garland. So I started running around. I was very disappointed in that. I started running around the airport lobby and buying all the little like single cut flowers that they sell in the convenience stores in the lobby. And I got a little sewing kit and tried to sew together these like single cut roses, but with the little needle, you can't really jab it through a rose stem as anyone. And I didn't know how to do a petal garland yet. I'm just a new bhakta. So what's left after like 15 minutes of me running ragged is this very ugly, very disjointed, just like string of rose flowers. You can't call it a garland. I was so embarrassed by it. But our godbrother, Advaita, he thought it was very sweet and he wanted me to give it to Guru Maharaj, but I was thinking, no, I shouldn't give it. This is horrible. We can't offer this to anyone. What to speak of someone of his stature? But Advaita took it anyway and offered it to Guru Maharaj, and of course he accepted it. And I now look back at that first connection and something of a service that I had for him and see that this is always what my spiritual life has been, that I'm reluctant and also not very capable of offering something nice. But because of the association of my godbrothers and the devotee sangha in general, something is being brought to Guru Maharaj, and by his mercy, he's accepting that something. So then we go back to Atlanta, to the temple, and right away also he comes into the house where he's going to be staying, and I have the opportunity to take his shoes off, because whenever he goes into the house, then he takes shoes off and puts on his house shoes. And many of you have seen many other people do such services for Guru Maharaj. And this is one of the ways, and we'll get to this later on also, one of the ways I've come to understand the physical situation that our Guru Maharaj is in, which is for some people difficult to see and understand what to speak of, appreciate that such a soul can be in such a condition physically. How could this happen to somebody who's done so much service for Krishna? And yet when I look at myself, and I look at many others also, if I didn't have the opportunity to serve Guru Maharaj in very personal, intimate ways, being there to take his shoes off and to feed him prasadam and to bathe his body and the other personal services, very direct services to an Uttama Adhikari, to a pure devotee, if I didn't have that opportunity to do such direct and intimate service, I'm not sure where I would be in my Krishna consciousness if that mercy hadn't come. And so in a way, Guru Maharaj is in his Archa Vigraha form. He's like a deity in this physical incapacitation. It actually allows for more service to happen for not just me, not just a few dozen devotees, but literally hundreds and thousands of devotees all over the planet. And people beyond the devotee community. We hear so often Guru Maharaj goes into the hospital and starts converting the doctors and nurses, and after a day or 3 or 4, they're chanting and they're reading Bhagavad Gita and they're taking prasadam. I had the opportunity to celebrate Vyas Puja of our Guru Maharaj in Vrindavan one year, and most of the devotees that came to that Vyas Puja program were devotees from other Diksha lines, other spiritual masters from the Diksha side. And they were all there to glorify Guru Maharaj, and many of them had personally served him in his travels all over the world, whether it was in Russia or it was in India, South America, North America. They had gotten the opportunity to do some service for our Guru Maharaj, something personal. They got to feed him, they got to keep him in their home. They got to do the laundry for the servants, the traveling team. They got to feed the traveling team that was there. And through those connections that they had, they felt a connection to Krishna that they hadn't before. And so they wanted to come there and appreciate that. And so this is something, again, that I early on in my relationship with Guru Maharaj, because I didn't know him before the stroke. I only knew him in this form. I've been, maybe it's a little easier for me to appreciate that that's what's going on, is that Guru Maharaj is in this situation, at least on one side, so that people in a much lower situation, I'm actually the sick one, I'm actually the broken one, and having the opportunity to do some service for him because of the pretense, because of the so-called deformity in his own body, is actually to help the deformity in me. So there we are in Atlanta, and Guru Maharaj, he's starting to walk again. And this is kind of a new thing, because since the stroke, he hasn't been able to really, he's been in the pool and doing his therapy. And these are some of the first steps he's taking with a walker and with a team. And that was one of my first, really my first experience of his determination. Seeing him get up out of his wheelchair, hold the walker, and be going up and down the hill that's in front of the Atlanta temple, and taking those steps and counting each step every day. And then at night, when his servants would be trying to put him to rest, he's asking how many steps did he take and how many steps did he take the day before, and then they're setting goals for the day after. And it struck me that this person who's supposed to be perfected, and in the West we have this idea that perfect means you don't have to work anymore. Perfect means you don't have to endeavor anymore. Here's this person who's supposed to be perfect, and yet he's endeavoring for something. He himself is tracking his progress and trying to improve. And again, it left a powerful kind of understanding to me that progress is eternal. Never is there a time when I shouldn't be endeavoring, when I shouldn't be working, when I shouldn't be striving for something for Krishna. And if this person with all these followers and all these admirers is willing to put in this kind of work, when easily he could just sit in one place and literally do nothing for the rest of his life, and no one would fault him for it, no one would complain about it, even people might be happy, still here he is endeavoring. Even in the condition that he's in, it gave me a deep sense that this is what my real devotional life looks like. This is what real Krishna consciousness is. Not that now I can chill out because I've got Krishna, I can become Krishna comfortable, but actually always putting myself one step ahead, no matter how hard that step may be to take. This was something that I took away from my first moments with our Guru Maharaj. One more thing about that first trip in Atlanta, which then goes into my first time meeting Guru Maharaj in Mayapur. Guru Maharaj was going to the pool. He was doing his exercise, and afterwards he likes to have fresh coconut. And living in Mayapur for decades, of course, it's something it's like saying I want a glass of water. It's not very hard to get fresh coconut. But if you're in downtown Atlanta, where we were, then it may not be as easy. So he looked at me and he said, please, can you get me a fresh coconut? Not like coconut bottled water, but fresh coconut. And so I was very excited. Wow, this is like personal instruction from the great devotee. I hadn't taken shelter of him just yet, but I was already in my heart but I hadn't expressed that yet. And so I started running around all over downtown Atlanta, going to shops, going to fruit markets, going to even hotels. I went inside and saying, do you have a coconut? Any kind of coconut, just like a decoration coconut, any kind of coconut that I could find. And no one had a coconut anywhere. I literally must have tried 15 different places and ran around 2.5, 3 miles while Guru Maharaj was exercising in the gym, in the pool. I was exercising, running around, trying to find this coconut, and I failed. I couldn't find a coconut. So I brought back just a bottle of coconut water, and he accepted it. He appreciated it. But then Advaita Pran, that same God brother, who's again that theme of how our disciple family is as much our connection to Guru Maharaj and Krishna as Guru Maharaj and Krishna themselves, that the Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu, whenever I meditate on this understanding in the Guru Vastakam, this glorification or Guru Vandana, that line Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu, I think that the Karuna Sindhu, the ocean of mercy of my spiritual master, is all the disciples, the glorious disciples that he's trained up and empowered to share Krishna consciousness with others and also with me to help engage me in some Krishna consciousness. So Advaita Pran was working. He was a single man, so he had a little bit of money. He was working and also living in the temple. So he felt inspired to bring me to India with him on a pilgrimage to Mayapur to see Guru Maharaj. And he thought maybe you'll get initiated there. I'd taken shelter in Atlanta. So he took me to Mayapur for my first time, and I remembered this there was an anxiety that I hadn't fulfilled this instruction. Right, Guru Maharaj said fresh coconut, and I didn't bring it. So when we got to Mayapur, we were going up to see him. I wanted to bring a fresh coconut, and it was like, we got in late. It was like 9:30 or something, but somehow we were still able to go up and see Guru Maharaj. He wasn't giving a class that evening, but Mahavaraha Prabhu said we could come see him. So I go and I have my coconut, and I go to give it to Guru Maharaj, but one devotee, he says, Prabhu, it's a little late. Because I'm from America, I don't know when you drink coconut or when you don't, what's right, what's wrong. So, of course, coconut's cooling. You don't really drink that at night, especially Guru Maharaj's digestion is not the strongest, so it's not something necessarily right thing to do. The devotee took it, but then Guru Maharaj, give it to me. And the devotee the devotee handed Guru Maharaj the coconut. Guru Maharaj took one sip and then he handed it back to me. And it was very endearing to recognize that, okay, this wasn't the right thing that I'm doing. It's service, but it's actually kind of out of place. Like the Guru says, bring me water, and you bring him milk. We hear Prabhupada give that example, but still Guru Maharaj is accepting. Another little anecdote that happened there, which really confirmed that this is my spiritual master. Actually, this is back in Atlanta, but it's just coming to me now. Our Guru Maharaj was in a darshan, and devotees were sitting around and asking questions. And one devotee had asked Guru Maharaj the pronunciation of Gadadhar in the Panchatattva mantra. And they were like, the devotee had some, kind of technical analysis of the proper way to pronounce. I still may not be pronouncing it right, Gadadhar. And the devotee was asking how to pronounce this name. And Advaita Pran, our godbrother, had exactly teased me about for a very long time my pronunciation of Gadadhara. That's how I used to say, Sri Advaita Gadadhara. And I think Gadadhara is at least a little better than Gadadhara. And Advaita Pran, he was very kind, so I'm not saying he was being mean, but he would poke and tease me. And in my heart, I was thinking, does it really matter? Does Krishna really care? He knows I'm trying. Gadadhar knows I'm trying. So does it really matter if I get this vowel or that, consonant? And so this devotee exactly asked Guru Maharaj that of all the names, of all the general questions, this devotee asked that exact question. He was actually Hridayananda Maharaj's disciple also. He was from somewhere else. And he had just come because he and Guru Maharaj have a relationship. He actually brought Guru Maharaj a new pair of New Balance sneakers, Guru Maharaj's favorite shoe. So this devotee had come, Jai Govinda, and asked this question. I was like, wow. Okay, finally we're going to get the verdict. What is the answer here? And Guru Maharaj spoke exactly what I'd been feeling in my heart. He said, if a baby is crying, the mother doesn't wait for the baby to pronounce the mother's name properly. Guru Maharaj said, the mother's just waiting to hear the sincerity of the cry. A good mom knows when the mom hears the baby crying earnestly and when the baby is just crying because they want attention. So the good mom is, Krishna is the best mom, and Krishna understands when the devotee is sincerely calling out these names, whether or not the pronunciation is perfect or not. Krishna is worried about the sincerity in the child's heart, in the heart of the chanter. And it was so reassuring that again, this person is answering and speaking to all the anxieties in my heart. So we were there in Mayapur, jumping back. That was actually my first visit with him in Atlanta. And after being initiated in Mayapur, which was a wonderful time, and we went on Navadvip Mandal Parikrama, and again, anyone, maybe some of you have been, gotten the opportunity to go, probably many of you, to see Guru Maharaj and his determination. We were at the Triveni particularly, and the devotees were all down. It's like a big kind of hill there, and the bridge that goes over it, I believe that's Triveni or Panchaveni. Now I can't remember. Anyway, one of those spots along the river, and Guru Maharaj insisted on being brought down to the group of the devotees. Not that the devotees all come up to him. He didn't want that. He wanted that he come down to the devotees. He didn't want that everybody be inconvenienced to come up and see him. So he insisted on being allowed to go down to see the devotees. And then he gave a pravachan. He spoke about that place and the importance and how all the holy rivers have come together there. And just simply by touching that place, not only are you relieved of sins, but because this is Mayapur Dham, then you can have your relationship with Mahaprabhu and Krishna reestablished. So it was the the specifics of the kata I don't remember, but the sense of urgency that Guru Maharaj had, that we all hear this message and that he be able to deliver it to us himself in a natural way. Not that although it's natural for us to go to him, he didn't want to be in that we could say pretentious environment. Rather, he wanted to feel as he was a part of the Sangha also, and just doing his little service, doing his contribution. That's how it felt. And so his insistence to come down and be with us was very touching to see. And he visited us on literally every day on the parikrama. He would go around to all 5 groups. That at that time he was able to do that, and still in his condition. And so again, the urgency that he had, the sense of importance he placed, despite all inconvenience, on that association and participating in this parikrama with us, gave me the sense that, again, this Krishna conscious experience is a very, it becomes powerful when I become determined. And it becomes powerful when I have a sense of purpose. Not that now I've done Navadvip Mando Parikrama, so I don't need to do it anymore. But if this person can be so intense about this experience and so insistent on creating it for others, there must be something very magical here. There must be something otherworldly about this that I want to tap into. And so Guru Maharaj was a practical demonstration of that. And this is one of the themes I'd like to take away from at least my own sharing today, and hopefully some others also feel this way. When we hear that Guru Maharaj is Jayapataka, he's the victory flag. This is what it means to be the victory flag, is that as he exists as a healthy, wholesome, progressive devotee, pure devotee, yes, but pure also means progressive. Progress is eternal. Guru Maharaj himself is insistent on progressing in Krishna consciousness, despite all physical odds, progressing in his service to Srila Prabhupada, despite literally every excuse anyone could come up with to not do anything anymore. Most senior, sannyasi, spiritual master, what to speak of the physical ailments, what to speak of he's older now. He has every excuse in the book to give up, and instead he's just pushing ahead. He continues to do more and more and more, and that is the Jayapataka. That is the victory flag, the banner waving away the excuses of Maya, not only in his own life, but in our lives also. What excuse can we really pull out? What thing could we say that he can't say with more gravity? How could we be sicker? How could we be older? How could we be more senior? How could we have even something like people being critical? Sometimes I tell myself that well, I won't say it because it's a sensitive thing in your area, but of course, Guru Maharaj has his detractors. And no matter how much criticism you've received from whoever, however, you cannot say that you've received more criticism than our spiritual master. You cannot say you've received more criticism than Jayapataka Maharaj. Do you have websites dedicated to blaspheming you? Do you have whole essays and articles and books that have been written about how so-called bad you are? Until that's where you are, then you can't say that you're on the level of Jayapataka Maharaj in that regard either. And yet still, he's undeterred in his insistence on continuing to serve Srila Prabhupada and Krishna with conviction from his heart, the way he knows they want to be served, despite whatever anyone else might be saying about how he's doing it. He has that personal sense of conviction. And also, as I've had the opportunity to see in traveling with him for some years, which I was about to get to, going on several trips with him, being the person that repeats for him when he's on phone calls, writing emails, and in personal darshans where devotees are asking personal and sensitive questions. Guru Maharaj never lets his sense of respectability down. No matter what somebody is saying about him, often also what email has been written by what person, criticizing, etc. Guru Maharaj never lets his own decorum, his own sense of respect for the other person diminish. And I heard him say once in a class in Mayapur, the whole self-help section of Barnes and Noble or any bookstore, the whole self-help section can be summarized by one phrase of Mahaprabhu. All the books on self-help in all the world can be summarized, they're captured by half a sentence of Mahaprabhu, our Guru Maharaj said. And what is that sentence? Manina manadena. Manina manadena. If one can simply meditate on offering all respects to others and expecting none in return, then that's all the self-help you need. Everything else, your anxiety, your fear, your frustration, your anger, your depression, it goes out the window. if this earnestly becomes your intense meditation. And how else could a person like Guru Maharaj be existing the way that he's existing? As I said, in his condition, in the wheelchair, etc., how else does a person think I should be the one going down the hill instead of these people coming up the hill? How else do you get emails blaspheming your decades of service to your spiritual master and reply back to that person earnestly thinking my humble obeisances to you? How else do you do that? Unless you've really internalized manina manadena. I was with this brings a remembrance of a personal question I asked Guru Maharaj. I was with him in Atlanta on another time, some years after that he'd come to Panihati, and I was in the bathroom with him, and we were we were just doing what you do in the bathroom. Guru Maharaj was going through his daily routine, and I asked Guru Maharaj at that time, because we were alone, I said, Guru Maharaj, I'm struggling with pratishta. I'm struggling with this idea that I'm a good devotee, and I'm a big devotee, and I'm an important devotee because I have this little service. I'm now something like a temple president, and so I'm struggling with this in my heart. How does one overcome this? And there we are in the bathroom, and Guru Maharaj says, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta says in Vaishnava K, and Guru Maharaj translated Vaishnava K for us. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta says in Vaishnava K that one who wants name and fame in this world is chasing after the stool of a pig. And I was already thinking, well, this is an appropriate reference, Guru Maharaj, because here we are in the stool room. But he could see that I wasn't quite getting it yet. I wasn't totally sinking in. And many of the animal metaphors that are in the Bhagavatam and used by our acharyas, they don't register for us here in the West because we treat our animals like deities. We don't understand really what is the condition of a dog, what is the condition of a pig, because we quarantine ourselves from those things. So then Guru Maharaj asked, he led me to help me understand on my own. He said, do you know what a pig eats? And then a pig eats stool. So to chase after the stool of a pig is to chase after the stool of stool. That's what it means to go after pratishta, after name and fame in this world. And Guru Maharaj put that in my heart in a way that I can never forget it, because there we were in the stool room and he was imparting that to me when I asked him the question. So manina manadena, this mood I see so deeply in our spiritual master. And that extends to our Guru Maharaj's recognition of the service of others and appreciation of the service of others, not seeing that his own projects or ideas have to be the center or the absolute, but actually seeing himself as a servant, as a support of all of the devotees who are trying to create an atmosphere in our Iskcon where Srila Prabhupada's desires are fulfilled. And so this is something that maybe some of you have wondered before. What can I do for my Guru Maharaj? If only he would give me a personal instruction, then I would be able to do some really empowered service. I would understand what it is that I'm meant to offer in this Krishna consciousness movement. And I've saw time and time again, sitting in personal darshans with Guru Maharaj, devotees ask this kind of question. Guru Maharaj, what should I do? Please give me some instruction. And time again, Guru Maharaj would tell that person, whomever it might be, whether they're a wife, older, younger, brahmachari, he would say, Srila Prabhupada has given me so many instructions, you pick one. They're all standing orders. You just pick one of those instructions that Srila Prabhupada has given me, and you help me in that. That's all I want. And I've not that he is dismissive of the disciple, but he's actually looking for us. This is my understanding. Guru Maharaj is looking for us to have a personal sense of what we want to do for Krishna and him and Srila Prabhupada. Yes, it's guided by their desire, but they want to see what we're going to bring to the table. And they want to see our personal initiative. There's a little anecdote of Prabhupada with Mother Yamuna. Mother Yamuna has been asked by Prabhupada to paint a room, and she's asking Prabhupada what color to paint it. And Prabhupada is politely saying, whatever color you would like. And then Mother Yamuna is trying to put it back on Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada eventually, puts his cane down, so to speak, and says, you're painting the room, you choose the color. We can't totally check out of the equation. We're trying to actually hide behind the spiritual master in some cases by wanting that personal instruction, that personal guidance, that initiative that they're putting into us. But really, it's just because of a lack of accountability on our side. We want them to do the work for us, all the way down to telling us step by step what to do and how to do. But in so many ways, he's already showing what to do. He's showing where to do. He's showing how to do. And we just don't want to do. And so we're using this excuse of not having a personal instruction to avoid the responsibility and service that Guru Maharaj has already put in our lap. So I say that to segue into a very important part of my Krishna consciousness and my community here also. The Harmony Collective in Ypsilanti, Guru Maharaj has given us, he actually did say this to me directly, make the ideal situation there in Ypsilanti. And I've struggled to understand, what does that mean, ideal situation? Not to take it for granted, but really to be introspective and pray. What is the ideal situation? And in praying to Guru Maharaj, because I thought we were starting a preaching center, and to attract new people. And what I found actually is that most of the time that I've spent over my years here in the service is taking care of devotees who are already established in the movement, but for some degree, for some reason or another, they don't feel supported or connected in other places, and they're looking for some place to feel that connection of the like-minded sangha that they're missing, and they try to find it here. And so I felt inspired to help them feel that. And that shift came when I began to pray to our Guru Maharaj, please let me serve your heart's innermost desire. I thought that our Guru Maharaj's innermost desire was to see everybody become Krishna conscious. And that's definitely the case. Also, though, something I've come to understand through this prayer, through the revelation that's come, is that our Guru Maharaj's desire is to see those who are already Krishna conscious actually be satisfied, actually be happy, actually feel like they're a part of a community that cares for them, where they matter, where they're acknowledged, where they're appreciated. And this is such a deep desire of Guru Maharaj that he established the Bhakti Rickshaw, which on the outside looks like it's something to get more people to come inside. But once you're inside, you also see this is the actual way where people will feel cared for. Otherwise, in a big temple, no matter where it is in India or Washington, D.C. or Detroit or Miami or Mayapur, wherever that big temple might be, if you're in a room of 500 or 5,000 people or even 50 people, how are you supposed to feel connected to all of them all the time? How are you supposed to reveal your heart intimately and openly with 50 people or 500 people or 5,000 people? It's not how it works. We can only reveal our heart and deeply trust a few people in our lives ever. And so Guru Maharaj created this Bhakti Rickshaw structure, yes, to bring people in, but also to keep those who are in a part of a sangha that's alive and fresh and feeling like they're connected to people who care about them, know what's going on in their life, and are able to help and support. So one element of the Sankirtan movement is, of course, chanting the holy name. And I went with Guru Maharaj on that tour that he does. I went from Atlanta to New York with him. And I was feeling a little awkward and unnecessary because Guru Maharaj, of course, always has so many servants around him. And I was really feeling like I don't need to be here. I was feeling like Guru Maharaj doesn't need me. I would like to be doing something for him, but I don't need to be the one pushing the wheelchair. Although it's very sweet to be the one pushing the wheelchair, I don't need to be the one pushing the wheelchair. There's literally 90 or 900 other people that will get up to push the wheelchair. But what's something I can do that nobody else really wants to do or is willing to do, but Guru Maharaj would like to see done? And I was having this prayer in my heart for like the 5 or 6 days that I was with our Guru Maharaj, traveling with him from Atlanta to New Jersey and then New York Rath Yatra that week in between. And in that prayer, I saw this one devotee named Ram Roy Prabhu. And some of you may know Ram Roy Prabhu. All of you have seen his photograph, certainly. He's the devotee that for the last almost 10 years now has anchored the New York City Harinam, in the daily Harinam that goes out in New York City, 4 hours and then eventually 6 hours a day. They've distributed so many books. And now actually there's an ashram down in Atlanta also, which is dedicated to Sankirtan that is spawned from this New York City Harinam. So it's a very big thing now with lots of brahmacharis, lots of books, literally thousands, maybe even at this, maybe millions of hours of Harinam have been done. But at that point, it was just Ram Roy Prabhu sitting on a mat with one other young man and like an old hippie dude that you'd see in the photographs of Prabhupada back in the day. Very low key, nothing special or important happening. Just one devotee determined to bring the holy name back to New York and do Harinam in a dedicated way. and practically no one else caring or helping him. He was there at the New York City Rath Yatra, and of course there's all the tents and the prasadam and the stage, and the big devotees are all there, and everybody's hearing from them. And this one devotee is just doing a little Harinam by himself on the side. And when I saw him, I felt very called. I said, wow, he's doing something. That I see a lot of people just wandering aimlessly, and maybe some of you have felt that way. You're here at the festival, and you see Guru Maharaj, and then you take some prasad, and now what? Now for 2-3 hours we just sit and gossip, or we stare at our phones and we flip through Facebook and Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever. But this devotee was doing something. He was chanting the holy name, and so I sat down with him, and from that one time sitting down with him, it spawned 4 years of going back and forth to New York, bringing with us to New York back and forth several devotees who wound up becoming dedicated servants of that Harinam ashram. One of them, he just had his birthday. He's our godbrother, Natabar Gauranga. He graduated from University of Michigan here, and since then, he's been a dedicated, sold-out brahmachari now for 6 years almost. His parents were wealthy pharmaceutical executives. Now for 6 years, he's been there doing Harinam day in and day out. At least 4 other godbrothers and godsisters directly involved from here over there in dedicated ways to help the program build up. And if I look back now, I can see how that connection with Guru Maharaj gave me that connection with this incredible service, this opportunity to chant the holy name in New York City, where Srila Prabhupada started it all, in a dedicated way, under the guidance of a deeply sincere devotee like Ram Roy Prabhu. And all of that came not in spite of Guru Maharaj. It's not that I'm not following his instruction because I'm not directly serving his program, but because of Guru Maharaj, because I had that desire and I had that hope, and he had that desire that the holy name be spread all over the world, and especially in North America, and especially in New York, where Srila Prabhupada made such emphasis on it. I got that opportunity, and it set the stage for our community here, the Harmony Collective, becoming what it is today. We have our farm, we have our restaurant, and all those services came either through my service to the Bhakti Rickshaw or this New York City Harinam. All the devotees, most of the resources have come through those 2 funnels, which of course are directly connected to our spiritual, our Guru Maharaj Bhakti Rickshaw he started. And again, that New York City Harinam, I wouldn't have known about it or connected to it. And it was in such infancy. It didn't even really exist in a formal way yet, except that I was there serving Guru Maharaj at New York City Rath Yatra, serving, and got the connection from there. Okay, dear devotees, I'm going to take a pause and just look at my own notes. Oh yeah, timing. Because there's some things I want to get to, but of course, as you begin to speak, like Hari Katha, this Guru Katha, also it has its own life, and so I've taken more time than I expected talking about things I wasn't expecting to, but it's all for Guru Maharaj, so it's okay. There was one very memorable experience that I had again in Atlanta, this special place, Panihati Dham. We were upstairs with Guru Maharaj, and it was the night he was going to be giving initiations. And before initiations, Guru Maharaj personally goes through the names of the prospective disciples and then chooses names for everybody. And there's a list, there's a spreadsheet to try to narrow down what names are still available, because of course we have a very big God family in that way. So there's something of a list, but still it's down to Guru Maharaj choosing each and every individual person's name. And so Guru Maharaj was done with choosing the names, but he was still taking so much time to get ready. And the devotees were sitting up in the temple waiting. And I knew they were waiting. And we've all had the opportunity to wait for Guru Maharaj to come and speak. And of course, there's logistics involved with him going anywhere. So some degree of waiting is always expected. And then it's Iskcon. So of course, there's always some waiting somewhere. But Guru Maharaj was taking a very long time, and I could feel he was like delaying. He was making some problem. He was having to pass water again. He was eating, and then we had to change his cloth, and a lot of roadblocks. Guru Maharaj himself seemed to be throwing up. And in my own heart, I started to get a little anxious and, like you could say, angry. I was thinking, Guru Maharaj, why are you stalling? Devotees were calling now from the temple room, hey, Guru Maharaj, we're waiting. It's been 2 hours. Devotees thought the program was started this time. It's going to go this long. We still have to have prasadam. It's like this whole logistical thing. Guru Maharaj, when are you coming? Just now coming? Okay. But then they call back at 45 minutes later. He still hasn't come. So I'm feeling very anxious at this point. and again a little upset with Guru Maharaj, and why is he stalling? So finally he agrees to be taken down, and he's all ready. His cloth is clean, everything's okay. And so we're coming down the steps, and right at this moment, if you've ever been to Atlanta, you know the temple is actually three houses. The house in the center is the temple, and then there's ashrams on both sides. So Guru Maharaj is down in one ashram. And for the Panihati festival, devotees set up a stage in front of that house to do cultural programs, dances, performances, etc. And so two of our god siblings, Danya and Bali, well, and Kishore, so three of our god siblings, are in this group called the Mayapuris. Of course, everyone knows the Mayapuris. And so the Mayapuris were there on the stage doing a performance. And Danya, she was going to share a song at that performance that she'd never shared before. And if you haven't heard this song, you have to. If you're a disciple of Jayapataka Maharaj, it's essential listening. She was going to share the song called Gurudev. And this song, Gurudev, is a song that she wrote for Guru Maharaj. And this was going to be her first time performing it publicly. And she hadn't told anybody. She hadn't told Guru Maharaj. Nobody knew per se. In fact, as we were coming down the steps from the house, we were carrying the wheelchair, I was listening to her on the stage explaining all this. I've never performed this song before, but I'm just feeling inspired now. And just as the door opens, she's beginning to sing this song, Gurudev, and Guru Maharaj comes out for the debut of this beautiful song, which if you've never heard before, you'll understand when you do, and if you have, you already know, is a heart-rendering song. You can feel her emotion and her love for our spiritual master, and even now it's making me choke up thinking about it. Guru Maharaj waited for 2.5, 3 hours, but he was just on time, actually, to reciprocate with this amazing heartfelt offering from this devotee. And on top of that, it wasn't that he did this at the expense of everyone else, because as we went up after he sat and heard the song, and of course everyone else understood the poignancy of the moment when Guru Maharaj came out right as Gurudev was being sung by his disciple for the very first time in public. Everyone said Hari Bol, and she was, you could hear in her own voice, she was trying to get through the song, choking up. It wasn't that Guru Maharaj reciprocated in this amazing way with her at the expense of the rest of us. In fact, when we went up the hill and we finally went inside the temple and Guru Maharaj began to speak, you could hear a pin drop in that temple room. And throughout the entire discussion, the whole ceremony, the audience's attention, the assembled devotees' attention was rapt on Guru Maharaj, because they had all had to make a conscious choice. I'm going to be here to hear from him. I'm going to be here to be a part of this ceremony of him connecting people to our sampradaya. And their own intention was strengthened by that patience, by that waiting, by all the doubts that come up. I'll see him tomorrow, next year, I'll listen online. Everyone had to make a conscious choice to be there with him. And so I could, as I was sitting in that room and repeating for him in that evening, I could feel how smoothly his words were entering into the hearts of all the assembled devotees. And so he simultaneously reciprocated in such a deep and personal way with Danya, and at the same time with everybody in that room, because of this apparent bad choice, bad behavior that I was seeing, that he's making himself late, and for why, to inconvenience the devotees, I don't know. So from there, I've always been able to accept anything and everything that might be happening by Guru Maharaj's arrangement, because if it's by his arrangement, it's for my best. It's for everyone's best, and I can accept that. That's not to say that everything happening is Guru Maharaj's arrangement, because there's other people in the equation also. And we can see this even in the time of Srila Prabhupada. I was discussing this with a god brother a few days ago. It's a kind of fallacy, that it's a very destructive fantasy that is perpetuated in our society. The idea that when Srila Prabhupada was here, everything was perfect and everyone listened to everything all the time and no one did anything wrong. Actually, everything bad that's happened in Iskcon after Prabhupada departed was going on when Prabhupada was here. So we can't say that those bad things were Prabhupada's will or Prabhupada's desire. They were going on in spite of Srila Prabhupada, but by Prabhupada's own determination to serve and to create a healthy Iskcon society, in spite of those things, still wonderful things were going on and available. And the same can be said for our spiritual master, our Guru Maharaj. It's not that everything that's happening is Guru Maharaj's ordination, But in spite of whatever knucklehead thing is going on by whatever knucklehead person anywhere, whether it's close to us or far away from us, Guru Maharaj's mercy is always available, and we can connect to his desire to serve Srila Prabhupada, and in that become empowered to overcome any obstacle. Because again, that Jayapataka is flying in our life. That banner of success, victory, and no excuses is flying in our life. Who can say that I have something else to do aside from do some service if your spiritual master is Jayapataka Maharaj? So one last appreciation I would like to share is just the connection I see between our spiritual master and the other great personalities in our Vaishnav community, in our Bhagavat Sampradaya. The themes that I see in his own life and connections that give me the inspiration that this truly is a person who is universally acclaimed. we might be Jagat Guru and these kinds of things. We throw out these words from time to time, but when I see our Guru Maharaj, then there's a few reasons which really do give me the sense that he is a universally transcendent and revered person. One of those is the emphasis on Bhishma Panchak. And Bhishma Panchak, Guru Maharaj emphasizes this worship of Bhishma Dev because we can see himself, he has a similar, he has brokered a similar deal somehow with Krishna. I made this comment a few days ago on a thread in I think Mother Haridwani had posted. Our Guru Maharaj shouldn't be alive, we know that, and there's some understanding that an astrologer has said as much, that in 2008 his karma kind of stops, and somehow he's still carrying on. And yes, he is somehow still carrying on, just like Bhishma was somehow still carrying on, despite laying on a bed of arrows. And our Guru Maharaj has been laying on a bed of arrows for a long time. But why was Bhishma laying on that bed of arrows? Ultimately, so that others can come hear from him and appreciate what he has to say. He's a pure devotee his whole life, but when he's laying on the bed of arrows, then suddenly everybody is ready to pay attention. And it's an austerity and it's difficult, but it's worth it for him. And Krishna comes personally to give him darshan and be by his side at that time. And I can see that also in our Guru Maharaj's life, that whatever may be said or not said about him, his willingness to carry forward in the condition that he's in is his laying on a bed of arrows, and his willingness to continue to serve and ability also is a connection between him and Krishna alone. There's nothing karmically, materially mundane going on there. It's simply his own desire and Krishna's reciprocation with that is playing out, and we have the opportunity to witness that Leela. We have the opportunity to see that very profound exchange and be inspired by it, just like we can read in the 9th chapter of the 1st canto about Bhishma and Krishna's exchange. We are being invited by Guru Maharaj and Krishna to witness this exchange and allow it to empower our service. In Panihati, Guru Maharaj is in a special mood in Atlanta. I keep coming back to Atlanta, and again, it's just a special place where so many devotees have come and met our Guru Maharaj. It's the Gupta Mayapur or something, that space. And the pivot of that festival is, of course, the celebration of Raghunath Das Goswami's Chirdai festival, the Chipped Rice festival. And if we look at Raghunath Das Goswami and Guru Maharaj, their lives actually have a lot of parallels. Raghunath Das Goswami, famously, we hear about in Antya Leela, chapter 6, how he wanted to run away from his family, and he was from a very wealthy, very rich, very established family, and he was supposed to take over the family business, the family fortune, and instead he wanted to run away and join Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan party. So Panihati, Gaurnitai, Prabhupada, these are all obvious reasons why Guru Maharaj would feel affection for and excitement about that place. But another reason that I've come to feel myself is Guru Maharaj's own empathy for Raghunath Das's situation, that being born in a very wealthy family, going to an Ivy League university in America, and then recognizing the futility of it all and wanting to run away and join Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. And the tension that comes with that. We shouldn't think that it was so easy for Guru Maharaj. We shouldn't think that he has had no problems, he's had no struggles. it's always been obvious for him the things that he's had to overcome in order to join Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, including having to deal with his family and his father saying that you're cut off from the will and now we disown you and that kind of thing. Guru Maharaj's struggles in that, I feel his empathy and inspiration in Raghunath Das, and seeing the parallels in their own life and how our Guru Maharaj relates to that. And so it's again a special opportunity to see him in Panihati or hear those lectures. Think about how he gives himself so much to the detail of making the special recipes for the chipped rice. I've seen him poring over binders of recipes for chipped rice: 1 cup of raisins, 1 cup of dates, 3 cups of sugar, 3 cups of condensed milk, like it's pages from the Bhagavatam, because these are recipes to please Gaurnitai. These are going to be offered to the Lord. And so down to the very last little ingredient, whether, should we put raisins in this one, or should we put dried cranberries? Should we put olives in this one? Or should we put dried tomatoes? Or should we put both? Which is going to be most pleasing? He'll spend hours on those details. That is an offering to Raghunath Das also, as a brother in arms of somebody who was born into fabulously wealthy circumstances and wanted nothing to do with it, but simply wanted to join Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan party. And then, if you'll allow me, Prabhus, I know it's just a little bit over time, but one more realization that came when I had the opportunity to be in Mayapur for 3 months. And I was with Guru Maharaj off and on at that time because I was taking a course. So I didn't get to see him as much as I wanted. And I was feeling that separation. I'm not doing much personal service for him while I'm here, and even getting to hear his classes, not always. So I was feeling bad, but every day I could, and even that wasn't often, 3-4 days out of the week, I was able to, on lunch, go down to Ganga and bathe. And now at Ganga, it wasn't the case before, but down at Prabhupada Ghat, there's a nice little temple of Ganga Devi. It's a simple temple, but it's there. And I'm assuming one of our godbrothers is the pujari. Naturally, they're in Mayapur, it's a good guess. And every day when I would go down, at the same time every day, it was very regulated because of the way my courses were structured. Every day I would go down, I could smell that the incense were just burning from the finishing of the puja offering, the like Mangal or noon Raj Bhog kind of arati. And this same lecture of Guru Maharaj would be playing. And it was a lecture I could understand of Vyas Puja. And of course, our Guru Maharaj appeared on an Ekadasi, Kamada Ekadashi. And Guru Maharaj himself was explaining the pastime of that Kamada Ekadashi in this lecture. And every day, I would be down there listening to this, and I would just kind of like, I'm bathing, I'm praying, I'm chanting my Gayatri, I'm getting in Ganga, and it's freezing because it's January. I'm getting out. And after a while, I really started to listen and wonder, why am I hearing this every day? And why is Guru Maharaj even kind of like narrating this during Vyas Puja? Why is this like the last thing he's sharing? Because it was the culmination of the lecture. And I really started to consider the Leela that's described there in the Kamada Ekadashi narration. And maybe some of you aren't familiar, so I'll just share briefly that one wife has her husband, they're Gandharvas, and her husband makes an offense or falls down somehow and becomes very disfigured. He gets cursed maybe to be disfigured, and his body becomes very ugly. And his wife is so distraught over this and the suffering that her husband is in, that she wants to somehow or other fix him to restore his beautiful Gandharva body, mostly for himself. She wants to do that as a dutiful wife, not that she's like wanting to enjoy her husband again necessarily, but it's with a devotional mood. And so she comes across one sage, and that sage says, there's an Ekadasi, you follow this Ekadasi, and your husband will be restored. And so she does the vrat very intensely for the purpose of serving her husband, for alleviating this condition of his. And she follows the vrat appropriately, and the boon of Ekadasi comes, and her husband's body is restored. And of course, she's overjoyed. And after considering this for days and days, it dawned on me that this is what our own Guru Maharaj has done to us. He's tricked us. And this coming in this Kamada Ekadashi speaks to that trick, that he has made us think he's the one that's disfigured. He has made us think he's the one that's hurting because of this apparent stroke that he's had and the many sufferings he's gone through physically over the years. And in making us think that he's disfigured, we, out of being something of a faithful disciple, we think, let me help my Guru Maharaj. Let me chant my rounds nicely, and let me follow Ekadasi nicely, and let me distribute some books, and let me go to the Dham, and let me do some service. Let me do something to help my Guru Maharaj. And in this way, he's actually only helping us more and more in this condition externally that he's in of being somehow disfigured. He's inspiring us to do these things which actually help ourselves, following Ekadasi, chanting our rounds, maintaining ourselves in the Sangha and trying to do some service. We are those wives that are trying to do something for our husband. But in the case of our Guru Maharaj, he doesn't need any help actually. It's only for our own benefit that he's allowed this circumstance to take place, knowing how much it inspires us and moves us to do those things which we actually should just have a taste for doing, but somehow because of our conditioning we don't. And so he's taken that austerity because at least it gets us to chant, at least it gets us to follow, at least it gets us to feel a sense of purpose and duty in our Krishna consciousness. And that, for that, he's happy. So there's some more things to share, but there's always more to say, dear devotees. So I'll stop there. And if anybody would like to share any reflections, I'd appreciate hearing them. Or if maybe there's a question, I can take that also.
It's profound. Mother Haridwani put it rightly. She said profound realizations. I think I second her on that. Very nice. And you took us there. With each one of your realization reminded of those Atlanta days. And it was nice always. And to see Guru Maharaj from so close and then you relating it to some very inspiring realization which helped you in Krishna consciousness, there was something awesome. I see Devamadhava Prabhu has a question for you.
Sure, I'll take that. I'm just feeling Guru Maharaj is humbling me at the moment. I'm just remembering one instance where I'm glad if what I shared was appreciated. One evening we were on the rooftop in Mayapur and I was repeating for Guru Maharaj, and there was a bunch of Bengali brahmacharis had come, and usually they don't come to these particular classes in the evening. It's during the Mayapur festival. It's for kind of the international group that Guru Maharaj is there, but somehow there's a bunch of Bengali brahmacharis upstairs in the evening also, because the class is usually in English, and so they may not even understand everything, but they were there. And so I was repeating and I was narrating, and at one point, Guru Maharaj mentions Kerala. He was saying something about Kerala when you all are there in South India. And me, I said, in repeating, I said Kerala. And the brahmacharis in front, they start snickering. And Guru Maharaj starts laughing like anything. And then he says, "What can you expect from an American?" And then the whole audience starts cracking up. So yeah, I'm always coming short of the thing, but I'm glad something could be said that was appreciated. If Lokabandhu has something he'd like to share, I'd like to hear from him.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hare Hare.
It was nice to listen from you, and it's always nice to listen from you anytime, every time. This is a question, these days Guru Maharaj is, he's mostly online, and we get his association more than we used to before, because before Guru Maharaj was traveling, and then there's, we're waiting for him, and it's that kind of love from separation, because we haven't seen him as much we used to now. Now he's online, he's always on Facebook, on Zoom, and for me, I think it's familiarity breeds contempt, and it's kind of, there is a lot going on. I see Guru Maharaj, but I am not feeling that love, or the separation is not there. So
yeah,
have you felt this? How do you deal with this? That's my question.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a gift and a curse, the internet. Even just thinking about the deities, right? If 300 years ago you would like to go see Radha Raman, right? Even if you live in India, right? From Bangalore to go see Radha Raman, what would it take you to get there? There's no trains, you'd have to walk, or maybe you have a horse or something, you get there on an animal back. But even that would take weeks or months of journey. And the whole time you're meditating on having that darshan of Radha Ramanji and you get there, finally you see him, and it's glorious because you've been meditating and you've been endeavoring, you've been praying, and now it's finally happening. Today, I can see Radha Raman, and then I can see Radha Shamsundar, and then I can see the deities here in Detroit, Radha Kunj Bihari, and then I can see some cupcakes that some girl made that she's posting, and then I can see somebody had a baby, and then it's a flood of opportunity, but it's very easy to take it cheaply. So your question is reminding me, and definitely I felt this also, taking for granted our spiritual master. I like to come back to one pastime of Srila Prabhupada, though, where he arrived in LA. And of course, everyone is there to celebrate and enjoy his presence. And he's looking around, and you can imagine there's hundreds of devotees there. It's LA, it's later on in the movement, so things are established. Tamal Krishna Maharaj is there, and Vishnu Jan Maharaj is there, and many stalwarts, Rameshwar Maharaj at the time. And Prabhupada steps off the plane, and he's seeing all these devotees in front of him, and he asks, "Where is Tripurari?" And one devotee tells him who he asked. He said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, Tripurari Maharaj is in the other terminal distributing your books." And Srila Prabhupada says, "Very good." So there's being with Guru Maharaj physically, and then there's being with him through his Vani, which is more important to him. Don't doubt it. I had this experience in New Orleans. Guru Maharaj was, and I shared with you that feeling of anxiety that there's somebody else to push the wheelchair. There's somebody else to spoon his prasadam for him. I'm doing it and I'm happy. I'm very grateful, but it's not needed. There's something else to be done that somebody else isn't doing yet, and probably wouldn't do unless I did it. What is that Guru Maharaj wants me to do? And that's where I met the devotees in New York. So on the way there, we were in New Orleans. And I remember one night is very distinct. We were up in Guru Maharaj's bedroom, and he was getting ready for bed. And one devotee, for maybe the 18th time in like 3 minutes, took out a tissue and wiped Guru Maharaj's mouth. And it was so unnecessary to do that. It was just the devotee wanted something to do. He was doing something for Guru Maharaj. Just like the deity is always that when how many flowers you want to give the deity will accept. So this was a flower offering to our Guru Maharaj from this devotee. He's wiping his mouth with the Kleenex. And at that moment, I was feeling this, like it's not necessary that this is being done. You're just kind of fussing over him, and he doesn't necessarily like that. He's accepting it, but you're just fussing over him. And at that moment, Guru Maharaj locked eyes with me and began to laugh. And he began to laugh. And then after 2 or 3 chuckles from Guru Maharaj, I began to laugh. And I started laughing. I couldn't stop. And I collapsed on the bed laughing. And Guru Maharaj was then chuckling a little more. And in that experience, the aftermath was Guru Maharaj kind of saying over and over to me in my mind and heart, yes, this is why I'm here and this is what I'm doing, to accept that kind of service. That's what's going on here. Even something as simple and insignificant as that, I will accept it. But that's not all that has to be done or should be done. So what are you going to do? Are you going to do a laughable service, or are you going to do something that matters to me? And I had that impression very deeply. I wasn't going to share this, but anyway, now that your question is bringing it out, so I'm bringing it out. Not to say that anything done for a great soul is a great service, and all glories to everyone that's done something, that sees something should be done. But we should be asking ourselves, we should have a little intelligence. Guru Maharaj also said to me once about second initiation, when I was getting ready to take that, and he had me personally for a few minutes. He said, when the baby spits up on the mother, the baby throws up on the mother, it's almost cute. The mother thinks that's nice. It's like, it's endearing when the baby needs her, and the baby gets sick and the baby's crying, the baby's pooping and peeing everywhere. It's actually sweet for the mother. Everyone else is grossed out, but the mom, it's something sweet. But when the 8-year-old or the 9-year-old is still behaving that way, then there's a problem. It's not so sweet for the mom if the 9-year-old doesn't know how to control themselves in that way. So also, as we mature in our Krishna consciousness, yeah, when we're young, it's sweet and Haribol and Guru Maharaj and kind of being absorbed in the fussy details. But when you get a little older, it's a sign of, it's a worrisome sign maybe, if you don't have a deeper sense of purpose and connection to your spiritual master other than what he's doing on Facebook. It's a sign of worry if you don't have a sense of purpose, if you don't see him physically for a couple months. it's a problem. So getting that connection to what happens when he's physically gone, which is going to come 10 years or 100 years or 10 days from now. It's going to come sometime. And are you prepared to have that sense of service still? Or like so many have done so many times when great souls have left from Srila Prabhupada and onward, when the great soul leaves physically, then so does a person's sense of conviction and service. Do you want to be there when that happens, when our Guru Maharaj departs? I don't. So I want a sense of service now that is connected to his Vani more than his Vapu. And these are my meditations when I feel that coming into my mind, that kind of laziness or lethargy or familiarity.
Thank you, Prabhu. Appreciate it.
Hare Krishna. I'm glad I have you right down the road to keep me reminded of him.
Well, I have you. Most important.
That's Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu, Association of the Devotees.
You got to have a stick with you.
Is there anything else someone would like to comment or share? Oh, Haribol, Mother Haridwani. Love you too. Mother Haridwani keeps me so embarrassed by her constant remember. I wish I had the memory that she had for all the experience she's if you all don't follow Mother Haridwani on Facebook already, please do. It's incredible the photographic memory she has when it comes to the experiences she's had with our Guru Maharaj and the places they've been together. It's very moving. I wish I had that kind of attention to detail in my time with him. This would have been a much better talk.
Yes, Uttam Prabhu, you can, please.
Hi, Shri Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful pastimes and your realization that you gave us about Guru Maharaj. Just one quick question. What keeps you going? I'm sure the motivation comes in from Guru Maharaj, but there are times that a lot of devotees, or maybe I would say particularly, we slow down a little bit. We feel a little low in our energies in executing what Guru Maharaj says or what Srila Prabhupada has given us. So, your realization as to what keeps Guru Maharaj going and what keeps you going, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. You're acting as an instrument in helping me fulfill my promise earlier. I said I would reveal the racy title that we first suggested, and then I totally forgot about the topic, the idea. What keeps me going earnestly is when I can remember what keeps Guru Maharaj going, and what I understand of why Guru Maharaj is still going is because he's a very greedy man. He's a greedy man in the best way. We hear it, but we don't understand. We don't accept it actually because we're very much still in a Vaidhi Bhakti place, and we think that Krishna consciousness is for morality. Because we have so many dirty things inside of us, we think I need some morality, and so that's what Krishna consciousness will give me, right? I'm lusty, I'm envious, I'm prideful. So the purpose of Krishna consciousness is to be moral, and to be greedy is amoral. It's wrong and it's bad. So we don't actually allow ourselves to become greedy in Krishna consciousness the way that we need to. But if you look at the life of Guru Maharaj, how else is he doing what he's doing except that he's literally desperate to be tasting a very specific kind of fruit? Because if Guru Maharaj is a pure devotee, and if he's a servant of Srila Prabhupada the way that we know he is, then there's no question, is Guru Maharaj going to be doing some service somewhere else, wherever he goes, whenever he goes? We know he's always going to be serving. And yet, for some reason, he's insisting on serving here right now, despite all odds, despite all efforts of other elements, we could say, to prevent it. He's continuing to serve. And why? Because there's a very special fruit that's available right now, which is available for him to continue to taste. And that is the fruit of being a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada at this moment in the Sankirtan movement's development, which is very unique. A couple hundred years from now, the Sankirtan movement will be more established, more common in a sense. Not that it will ever be uncommon or common in a mundane way, but it will be more normalized. Right now is still a very unique, exciting, fresh time. And to be a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada, the person that exported Gaudiya Vaishnavism out of India and all over the world, and to have such a direct and intimate service to him is a very special service to be tasting the fruit of. And Guru Maharaj hasn't had his fill yet, somehow or other. Somehow he still wants to be tasting that fruit. And so here he is continuing to push on in that opportunity. And that's what's maintaining. His physical body is useless, as we all know at this point, and yet still there he is in it, because that's what keeps him able to serve in that context, in that sphere, and taste that very sweet fruit of offering this particular service to Srila Prabhupada, the expansion of his Iskcon, as it is here on this planet right now. And so Guru Maharaj, he every morning in the Mangalarti prayers, it's sung. Pratikshana Swadhana Lolupasya, this lolium, this greed is there in the spiritual master, and our Guru Maharaj is an emblem of that. He's the guru of greed. Be greedy for the right reasons, not for mundane ones, but for transcendental ones. And so in my own Krishna consciousness, I don't get inspired anymore feeling bad for doing something wrong. Oh, what will the devotees think? Oh, I said I would. That doesn't work, because after some time, maybe you all have experienced, you wind up making enough mistakes that you realize, okay, life's not going to end, and I'll still be able to pick up my beads, and I'll still be able to go to the temple, even if I mess up. So not messing up is not a very good reason to stay in Krishna consciousness after a certain point of time. You really have to develop a taste, a sense of purpose that's positive. I'm getting a taste, and I want more of that taste, and that taste comes through my service. I want more of that service. So that's what keeps me around in any way that I'm around in a healthy way. And my Guru Maharaj has given me that permission to be that greedy person. So thank you for reminding me of that angle.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So we got it right, was Guru of greed.
We got to finish that way, didn't we? I even wasn't going to do it, so that's how I can, it's mercy. It's Guru Maharaj accepts, because he induced it out of me there at the end through Uttama Prabhu.
I send you the message when I went to take rest, and when I woke up, I saw that in the middle of that, I sent out a note to you, and I also simultaneously had sent it to Ankit Prabhu, who helps us design the poster. And by the time I woke up later during the day, he asked me, have you spelled it wrong? Is it the Guru of Grace?
There's yeah, like some kind of typing error, autocorrect.
Sometime here, or what's that? So Ankit Prabhu sent me. I smiled. I said, I've sent that. To tell you, he prepared 2 posters already with changed titles. And then I said, funny. Hold on. I said, because some may not be able to take it, so I have requested for one. And once it came, we sent it out. But thank you for putting it in the right perspective and
we sing it every morning, actually. Pratikshana Swadhana Lolium. Lolium means greed. Our acharyas talk about it. There's Rupa Goswami gives shlokas. Lolium means greed, but we don't let ourselves go there, because it seems so, it seems beyond us. But that's also the opportunity of having such a qualified spiritual master is it's beyond me, but it's not beyond him. So if he has it, I can get it also if I serve him in that mood. And Vishrambena, this is something Jiva Goswami says, we want to become intimate. Guru Maharaj doesn't want on reverence. He wants somebody he can joke with, and then somebody who he can trust also to follow his instructions, to do as they need to do, but also somebody who can tell a joke. So we've all heard so many of those pastimes before. The Guru Maharaj tells wonderful jokes. But this is actually the hope of the spiritual master, not to have this kind of subordinate sycophantic following, but to have peers. Okay, he's my spiritual master. Guru Maharaj tells us, Mother Haridwani asked this question, what about our relationship in the spiritual world with our spiritual master? And she's asking generically, but of course she's asking Guru Maharaj about her relationship with him in the spiritual world. And Guru Maharaj tells that the spiritual master will remain like a good friend, even in the spiritual world, always there, always available when you need them. And so this is, if there, then why not develop that here, that the spiritual master and the disciple, Vishrambena, they become intimate. And there's always on the disciple's side that feeling of indebtedness and perpetual gratitude and servitude, but it's augmented by that sweetness, friendship, rasa. So thank you, dear devotees. I know I've talked way past when I promised I would. So thank you, Anadi Jagannath, for your patience with me.
Thank you.
Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. What wonderful realizations, such profound realizations. Thank you so much. It was really very interesting to listen to you. And our realizations for our Guru Maharaj increases day by day after listening to this Throwback Thursdays. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that encouragement.
Okay. If no one has anything else. Okay. With your permission, may we call it a day?
Jai. Thank you, dear devotees, for this opportunity, especially at Anadi Jagannath Prabhu. Again, we don't get the chance to say these things very often, especially in a kind of public setting. So I'm very grateful for the chance.
Thank you for joining us on this forum, and I hope we'll get more association of you in days to come. This happens every Thursday. We call it the Throwback Thursday. And same time, devotees, if possible, please join us next week to hear glories of our glorious Maharaj. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai, Samit Gaur Bhaktavind ki jai, Devamadhava Prabhu ki jai.
Gauranga.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, dear devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hey, Hari Bol, Braj Kishore. Nice. You're here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam Prabhu.
Dhanvat Pranam, Urmila Bhagavati Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam.
Hey, Hari Bol, Yashoda, you there still? Okay, good, thanks.
Hare
Join
Krishna.
us next time also with a new bhajan, okay?
Yes, Prabhu, I'll join Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hey, Hari Bol, Ankit Prabhu, that was
Hare
you
Krishna, Prabhu.
talking about you to him.
Yeah, I heard that, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sarvadevi Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol, Deepa Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Vijay Bhakti Mataji. Nice to see you here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam.
Hi, Bol. How is Prabhu doing?
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Prabhu.
Oh, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhu. My obeisances. How are you?
Dandat Prabhu.
How is Gaura? Oh, yeah, Prabhu. Jai. How is Gaura doing?
Exams are going on.
Oh, he's how far is he from becoming a doctor now?
Now second year going on. I think second year exams.